Chapter 2. First Visit. Day 2, Ahsoka Tano. I wake from my sleep feeling gutted. Spending time with Anakin Skywalker was interesting to say the least. He is so strange and peculiar. Force wielders can't all be misunderstood, can they? I wonder how Master Plo reacted after my outburst. If I have gotten Anakin Skywalker into trouble, I will never forgive myself. Sighing, I realize that I simply cannot come up with a valid reason for the Council to keep someone who saved Master Windu's life imprisoned, especially not when that person is a Force wielder. Surely, they would want to learn from him and the things that he could do, not keep him locked up like an animal. Force wielders are supposed to be extinct, so finding one who used to be a Jedi alive today would be seen as a great opportunity by most, wouldn't it? When I sit up, I notice for the first time that I am not alone in my room. There is someone here with me, in the shadowed area, in the corner of my room. For a second I think it might be Master Plo, and I tense up without thinking. Then I frown and realize that the Force presence I am sensing is not Master Plo's. I am always jumping to conclusions, and that is what is considered to be my greatest flaw. This Force presence is kind and gentle and understanding, meaning that it can only be one person. Master Kenobi, I begin, dangling my legs over the side of my bed. I am not yet tall enough to touch the ground. What are you doing here? He does not speak as he steps out from the shadows. It is obvious that he was sent to watch me. Master Plo suggested that I keep an eye on you, Obi-Wan says. You stumbled upon something that we did not want you to see. I eye him cautiously. He couldn't feel the same way about Anakin Skywalker, could he? Master Kenobi was the most understanding Jedi Master on the Council. Surely he of all people could see that he was not a threat to the Order. Why is he there? I question. He saved Master Windu's life. I remember it from a month ago, so why imprison him? I have been asking the Council that for weeks now, he admits. To tell you the truth, Ahsoka, the Council have been at a stalemate for the past month. Half of us believe that Anakin should be allowed to go free. It is obvious that he is not a threat, whilst the other half think that the Force wielders are a threat, and were destroyed for a reason. I wonder how some of the Jedi Masters could possibly feel this way. It is not as if one person could destroy the entire Jedi Order. They would need help. But I don't understand how anyone could think he is dangerous. He seemed fine to me. I look up from the floor to meet Obi-Wan's gaze. Do you believe that he's dangerous, Master Kenobi? He shakes his head. Anakin was my Padawan, Obi-Wan informs me, which I find interesting. I know that he would never harm the Order. But 10 years is a long time for him to be away, and at first I thought that it might be possible he has become a threat. Then I went into his room to meet with him. His eyes startled me, as I'm sure they startled you, but his personality has not changed. In the first week he was confused. He saved Master Windu's life and was not allowed to leave. Then the members of the Council who want him to remain imprisoned tried to break into his mind. That is when he showed his true power. It was not like before, when he saved Master Windu. That was only a snippet of it. By the time we arrived he had thrown them out of his room and vowed never to tell the Council anything about his past, not even those of us that he trusted. They shouldn't have tried to do that, I say. That's like being racist. Actually, that's exactly what it is. They're judging the Force wielders based on what they think is true. That isn't the Jedi way. Obi-Wan sighs and nods. I suppose it is, he agrees. The Council know that he told you something about his past, Ahsoka. I am surprised that he changes the subject so quickly. It may not have been detailed, but he told you far more than he has told anyone else, including me. I narrow my eyes. If Anakin Skywalker vowed never to tell the Council anything about his past, then why should I tell them for him? He'd never speak to me again, probably end up hating me, and then the Council would just press him for more information until something bad happened. I don't know what you're talking about, I lie, using the Force to place strong barriers around my mind. He just said that he had been gone 10 years and then was imprisoned. To my surprise, Obi-Wan smiles at me, apparently amused. I can see why Anakin likes you, he says. I wonder if he is going to say anything else about him, but then he changes the subject again. Ahsoka. Do you remember the way to his room? I think for a moment and am fully prepared to say yes, because I memorized it and went over it 1,000 times in my mind as I was running back to my room. But then, I realized suddenly, the Council would make me swear never to go looking for him again, or something worse, such as spying on him. Matching Obi-Wan's gaze head on, I say, no, I can't remember. And am surprised to see that my lie has worked. Alright then, he nods his head. Just promise me you won't go looking for him. I won't go looking for him. Because I already know where he is, I say the last part silently. Today is a Saturday, and younglings under the age of 13 get to do what they like on the weekends. I plan on going to find Anakin Skywalker again. For some reason I can't get my mind off of him. Obi-Wan nods at me. Good, he says. Now, on to happier subjects. I cannot believe how gullible he is, or maybe it's just because he trusts me. Master Kenobi has always been one to give people chances. And since I'm on my first, I have nothing to worry about. The 3 younglings who were chasing you have been removed from your class, he informs me. It was a reluctant decision, but since they chased you straight into Anakin's room, they have been expelled. Expelled. I repeat the word. Wait, is this because the council doesn't want anyone to know about Anakin? Sadly, Obi-Wan nods again. He is an enigma, and has divided the council without even realizing it. Sighing, he closes his eyes for a few seconds before opening them again. I have to attend to some business with my battalion. I'll leave you to your own devices for the rest of the day. Goodbye, Ahsoka. Goodbye, Master Kenobi. I watch him go and hold back the smile that creeps onto my face until the door has closed behind him. The war between the Republic and the Separatists is an ongoing thing that started about a year ago. The Separatists believe that the Republic is corrupt, and I can honestly say that I have never believed there was any truth to that statement until now. I'm not going to become a Separatist. The Sith are backing them for a reason, but my faith in the Council is dwindling. But right now, I don't really care about the Republic, the Separatists, or the Council. I just want to go and visit Anakin Skywalker. Getting off of my bed, I walk out of my room and head in the direction that I always go in when I have some free time. Anakin Skywalker's room is in the opposite direction, but there is a corridor that loops back around and leads straight to that area of the temple. I am only taking the long way because I can sense a few members of the council pretending to be in a deep conversation just a few meters behind me, watching to see if I go that way. I'm no idiot. I know that they're going to be watching me for some time now, at least until they're sure I won't try and go back to see Anakin Skywalker. Thinking, I cannot help but realize that the amount of times I have been chased around the temple mean that I know it better than anyone else. I can make my way through the ventilation shafts without any kind of map and walk through the temple blindfolded. However, the amount of times that I have been praised for my ability to find my way, no matter where I am, mean that finding my way back to Anakin Skywalker's room without being followed. Luckily, I cannot sense anyone following me, and I know that they do not know that there is another way to that abandoned part of the temple. All I have to do is get to the corridor that loops back on itself, get into the vents, and make my way to the corridor with Anakin Skywalker's room at the end of it without anyone noticing me. The moment I turn into another corridor, I can feel the relief of the Jedi Masters. Through the Force. They really don't know me that well. No one bothers to spare me a second glance as I walk down the corridor, careful to shield my mind from anyone who might just happen to sense that I am up to something. I find it interesting that they have not realized that I am going somewhere specific. They all think that I am going to where I usually do to spend my free time, a small spot near the entrance to the temple where I can see the whole of Coruscant. It is above the ground so no one can disturb me and partially hidden, so that only people who know where I go can speak with me. It is a great way to get rid of some problems that I receive in training. When I reach the corridor that loops back on itself, I am unsurprised to find that no one is about. However, I am not gullible or fooled by appearances, and reach out through the Force to sense whether or not anyone is nearby. I find that there really is no one about and am quick to remove the cover to the vent, so that I can climb in and secure it behind me. Many of the covers to ventilation shafts in the temple are secured tightly, but if there are any vents that branch out to large areas, then you can count on the fact that a youngling has loosened it before you. Straightening in the vents, since the ventilation shafts in the temple are much bigger than any in other buildings, I begin to walk in the direction of Anakin Skywalker's room. It is a long walk, but I do not mind. At least this time I won't be completely out of breath when I see him next, unlike last time when I couldn't stop gasping for breath from the amount of sprinting I had done. As I reach the next vent cover, which is loose as well, I quickly sense around for anyone who might be nearby, and thankfully I find that there are no Jedi, droids or anything else patrolling the corridors. Quietly, I remove the vent cover and climb out before securing it in place once more. I make my way down the corridor, and I can already see Anakin Skywalker's door at the end. It is rather easy to find now. I can never seem to forget a place, and in many cases it's a good thing. I stop outside of his door and decide that it would be a bad idea to just barge in, like I did last time, and decide to knock first. I wait for a few seconds after knocking, wondering if he will answer, and I hear him say, "Come in," from inside. Palming the door open, I can see that he has stood there looking much the same as he did yesterday, only slightly confused. He's probably never had a visitor that knocked on the door before. "You came back," he states, like it's the most puzzling thing in the world. "Why?" "I would have thought the council would be watching you so that you couldn't, even if you wanted to." "They don't know me that well," I admit. "It was rather easy to get here. None of them know that there's another way to get here through the ventilation shafts." Anakin Skywalker arches both eyebrows. "You came through the vents?" he asks. "Just to see me. I told you yesterday that no one likes a Force wielder, at least, no Jedi does." "Well, maybe the council don't like you, but I don't see any reason not to. I mean, you healed me and got rid of those younglings," I say. "Besides, Master Kenobi said that only half of the council doesn't like you, the other half including him think you should go free." He frowns and cocks his head a little. "Really?" questions Anakin. I thought they all hated me. I didn't know they were at a stalemate. He focuses his attention back on me. So, you really don't mind that? I'm a force wielder. I shake my head. No, I reply. I find it rather fascinating actually. Sighing, he looks at the floor as if pondering something. I wonder what could possibly be going on inside of his head when he says something that I did not expect. Come in, if you want to stay, that is. I stand there for a moment, startled, before regaining my wits and walking inside, allowing the door to close behind me. As I suspected before, there is nothing of great interest in the entrance, or in his bedroom. If there is anything around, it will most likely be in another room. Is there something in particular you want? He asks, as though I am only there for a specific reason. Well, not something particular, but I was wondering what a force wielder does. What are they for? I say. He frowns, thinking about the question. Well, we're not really for anything. We keep certain things the way they are and help other things to change. A force wielder doesn't really do anything unless they want to. So, you saved Master Windu because you wanted to? I question. Well, yes I did, and I didn't really have a choice. I'm not a force wielder of the dark side, so I couldn't very well let him die, but I did want to save him. He is a Jedi, just like I used to be. He explains to me. Besides, I wasn't raised that way. My mentor taught me never to let anyone die just because you didn't know them, or because you didn't like them. Is your mentor as powerful as you? I ask, unable to contain my curiosity. To my surprise, he chuckles. What makes you think I'm powerful? Well, I begin, deciding on what things to say. There's your eyes for starters. They keep changing colors due to your emotions. After that, there's the way you threw those younglings down the corridor. Without even moving, it didn't look as though you were even trying. That was not anything powerful, Anakin Skywalker informs me. Force pushes are quite simple. I look away deliberately. He may be a force wielder, but I am not very good at using the force to push people or things back. In fact, my force pushes are pretty pathetic. It just makes people stumble, and then I do not realize that he has sensed my discomfort on the subject, or that he has taken a few steps forwards to stand directly in front of me. What's wrong? He asks, his voice soothing and somehow making me feel safer than I have in a long time. Sighing, I look up into his gaze again. His eyes are that serene blue color again, which I suppose they must become whenever he's either concerned or comforting. It's just I wonder whether or not to continue. I'm not very good at force pushes, that's all. But I hope I'll get better at them. Master Yoda says that I need more practice, and have to focus on blocking out all of my emotions, that's all. Anakin frowns and shakes his head. That's one of the hardest ways to learn how to do it, he says. No wonder you're having trouble. How is it one of the hardest ways? I asked. I thought that you had to focus solely on the task at hand. Snorting, he rolls his eyes. Did I look like I was focused solely on the task at hand? Well no, but you are a force wielder. That only means I can do other things too, he dismisses the comment. I'll show you how to do it. Practice on me. I frown, uneasy about showing him how pathetic my force pushes are. I'm not that good. Come on, it'll be fine. Just show me what you can do so far, and I'll tell you how to improve it. Anakin reassures me, taking a few steps back. I hesitate, not sure if I should. Trust me, Ahsoka. Just use the force and try to push me backwards, like you do in your lessons. Swallowing, I resign myself to the embarrassment and use the force to try and push him back. He stumbles back, one side going backwards slightly as though he's been shoved unexpectedly. I stand back up. Straight as he goes back to his original position, standing in line with the open door to his bedroom. My attempts at a force push are terrible compared to what he can do. I expected him to smirk or make fun of me, not to give me a reassuring smile as though what I had just done was not pathetic. You've got the general feel of it, you just can't grasp it, he says. This time, think of something that makes you happy, like a happy memory, or a powerful memory. The Jedi don't go for this approach, but if you just keep the guard around your mind then they won't have a clue. Now, try your force push again, but this time think of something that makes you happy. At first I think he's lost his mind. How am I supposed to use the force to push him and keep a guard around my mind at the same time? It doesn't seem possible. But then I remember that he is a force wielder and likely has more experience with it than I do, so I decide that his approach is worth a try. Taking a deep breath, I think of a happy memory, or something that makes me happy. I come up with a memory of when I first met Barriss and focus on it before using the force to push him. He stumbles backwards again, this time further than before, and he has to grasp the door to his bedroom for support. It still wasn't a force push, but it was more powerful. Sadly, I failed to see the good side to this. It still wasn't a force push. Maybe you should try thinking of something that makes you happy instead of a memory, he suggests. Jedi are known for their happy memories. Think of someone you know, like your friend Barriss. Taking his advice, I think about Barriss. Just by thinking about her I can remember all of the memories that I have of her, which makes me feel a little strange. I feel light-headed and oddly light on my feet, as though I could run a marathon. When I get ready to push him, I have hardly lifted my hands, and he flies backwards to land on his bed, bouncing up a few times from the springs of the mattress. Gawping, I straighten and look from my hands to him in awe. It worked. It actually worked. Just by thinking of Barris, I was able to do something I had never thought I could do. Anakin was right. That was a better way to learn to force push. Okay, his voice sounded whilst he was still staring at the ceiling from his sprawled position on the bed. That was a happy thought. A very, very happy thought. I smile sheepishly. Sorry, I say, knowing that it must have been some discomfort to be thrown through the air like that by an 11-year-old. Are you okay? I'm fine, Anakin says, sitting up and getting off of the bed. I just wasn't expecting you to learn it so quickly. Stretching, he walks out of his bedroom and back towards me. I know firsthand how uncomfortable the beds in the temple can be when you hit them with a certain amount of force. At times they are soft and comfortable, other times they are hard and uncomfortable, often resulting in a bad back and sleeping on the floor for a better night's sleep, as I have done many times before. Let's sit down, he says. Standing around all day is worse than hitting any of the temple beds hard enough to make them turn as solid as rock. We both sit down on the plain couch that is in what appears to be something of a lounge area. There's a whole screen to watch the holonet, so I guess he does have something to do, a case of holonovels and all of it's beside it, and a table that has some rather peculiar ingredients on it, though I am certain that I have seen them before. Some are like the grass in this large area that we practice free for all and capture the whole flag in, the others look like something I know I've seen also. They've been placed away from each other, and I'm guessing there's a reason for it, so it would be a bad idea to go snooping around over there if he walks out of the room. So, I begin, unsure of what to say at first. What do you do here? There doesn't look like there's much around that involves being active. Force wielders do practice a lot, don't they? Smiling, he replies, yes, we do. But you don't need something to practice on to practice. It depends on what you want to do. But, what can force wielders do? Because you can't do absolutely anything, it's impossible, isn't it? He chuckles again. No, but we can do close to anything. Anakin says. We can do whatever we wish through the Force if we have been trained to do it, and some things that we stumble upon by accident. Such as, I could create an image out of embers, or make fire in the palm of my hand. Those are some of the things that I don't need something to practice on to do. Make images out of embers? Ahsoka asks skeptically. I don't see how you can do that, you must be exaggerating. Anakin arches an eyebrow. Oh, really? He asks cockily. I cock my head to the side, daring him to prove it. Surely he cannot be serious. Embers are just embers, and things that can start a fire up again, making them into an image is impossible, not to mention the fact that they disappear quickly. I have very strong ideas about things that can and can't be done, and making an image out of embers is on my list of impossible things. Without warning, he holds his hand out in front of him with the palm open and clicks his fingers. A flame springs to life in the palm of his hand that makes me jump about 10 feet in the air. My jaw drops as I stare at the fire that should not even exist as it sits harmlessly in the palm of his hand. He is not even being burned by the fire, and he created it just by clicking his fingers. How in the universe did he do that? Wow. I gawp at the fire in his hand and am shocked that he wasn't exaggerating about anything. Pulling myself together, I close my mouth, which has been hanging open as if on hinges. How did you do that? Anakin grins at me. Suddenly I'm not exaggerating anymore, am I? He asks in that same cocky voice as before. But how? I shake my head slowly. This should not be possible. It can't be possible, and yet it is. There were embers floating out of the flames, and the crackling noises that resemble those of a normal fire, which means it is burning on something. How is it still alight? I mean, fires need fuel to burn on, don't they? Yes, they do. Anakin agreed. It's being fueled by the times that I felt a strong emotion. That is how you start a fire with the Force. You think of a time when you have felt a strong emotion, and then the fire starts and feeds off of that memory until you want it to go out. I frown and look at my hand. If that really was the way to do it, then maybe it wouldn't be so hard for me to do it too. He is far too busy shaping the image of a speeder out of the embers in his hand, which I force myself to look away from to notice the way I focus on a time when I felt a strong emotion. Doing something completely un-Jedi-like, I think of a time when I was annoyed, really annoyed. This is when he does notice me, and he clenches his hand into a fist, squashing his fire, and opens his mouth to speak when I click my fingers, and fire appears in the palm of my hand. It is not as big as Anakin's was, and it is hard to maintain, but it is still there. His hand goes over the flame, and the moment his hand is on mine, the flame is gone, a small amount of smoke rising from where it disappeared. Anakin is looking at me with a slight frown and wide eyes, as though he is both surprised and confused at the same time. I glance at the window and see that it is getting slightly dark. Being winter on Coruscant, the sun sets quickly, but this also means that if anyone is checking up on me, which a Jedi Master no doubt will, then they would be doing it soon. You should not have been able to do that, Anakin comments, his gaze boring into mine like he is more shocked than he has been in his life. I do not give him time to speak again when I stand up and make for the door. I need to get back to my room before anyone can find out that I am nowhere to be found. I have to go now, bye. I say hastily. I am almost at the door when a hand closes around my upper arm, and I am brought to a quick stop. Frowning, I turn around to see that it is Anakin, his eyes now a dark green. Where are you going? He asks. Back to my room, I reply, jerking my arm forward slightly to indicate that he should let go. The council will probably send someone to check up on me, and if I'm not there, then they'll know I came back. Anakin remains silent for a moment, his face completely devoid of emotion. Okay, he says, slowly letting go of my arm. But you have to come back. Alright. Alright. I agree, not at all bothered by his request since I was planning to return anyway. Goodbye. I turn around and walk out of the door. Anakin watches me go with confusion and surprise rolling off of him in waves, though I pay it no attention. He's just overreacting because I managed to create fire with hardly any teaching, big deal. Taking off the cover to the vent and climbing in, I realize something. I can create fire in the palm of my hand. It may not be as big as Anakin's, or that bright or hot, but it is still fire. There's a major free-for-all game coming up in 3 weeks' time and every youngling in my class has someone teaching them about how to win, but I don't have a mentor yet. I certainly have an edge over the other younglings now, being able to create fire, but I know that if I do create fire in the palm of my hand that the game will be ended, and I will be taken away and asked where I learned how to do it, which will get me into a lot of trouble. Dashing through the vents to be able to make it back to my room quickly, I climb out of the vent, secure the cover back in place, and walk to my room, as though it is the most casual thing in the world. The Jedi Padawans and knights that usually walk the corridors pay me no attention, and I find it more than easy to walk to my room, get inside and sit down on my bed. I am tempted to create fire again, but I do not get the chance since at that moment my door opens and Master Fisto walks in. He has been sent to check up on me. I must have gotten back to my room just in time. Ah, young Tano, you are still here. He greets, walking down the few steps at the base of the door. I got a little tired, I say, which is true because I just ran through a very large and very long vent. The fact that it hasn't shown in my face or my breathing is extraordinary. He nods. I came to ask what you think about Anakin Skywalker. Why am I not surprised? Carefully, I pick my words so as not to give away that I had gone against the council's wishes and gone back to see him. He's kind, I begin. And nice to be around. He healed me when I was hurt and stopped those younglings from beating me up, even though he had no idea who I was, so I can't see any reason for him to be imprisoned here. Master Fisto smiled. Neither can I. He agreed. Well, I will leave you to rest. Good night, young one. Good night, Master Fisto. The moment the Jedi Master leaves the room, I lay back on my bed and close my eyes. I may not have noticed it before, but doing force pushes and creating fire has really tired me out. It is unsurprising that the moment I close my eyes I begin to drift off to sleep. It is only the sound of my door opening again that surprises me. By now, I do not have time to be surprised and am soon asleep without a care in the world.